Yeah, so welcome to the workshop. Illustration design meets study and imagination. Man, this is what really ignites my imagination when I'm doing these covers. So when I'm reading God's word, it will start to like invoke my imagination, my senses while I'm reading this, while I'm listening. And then I also go to some really good trustworthy resources. And then, like I'm saying, I combine it with the artwork that I've been concepting and sketching here. And then what it comes out to be is this. But in between time, it takes about probably 20 to 25 hours to do each one of these pieces of artwork. So you can tell this is pretty crude in concept form. And then I go into this artwork. So I love how this came out. And I think that it represents well the book of Leviticus. What I like about these is that typically when I've formed the thoughts, they've come from a place where I have heard, I've used like the sacred senses God has given me. I start to put it down into very, typically first basic symbols that then become pretty elaborate as the mosaic of the iconography shield kind of comes together. So let me kind of point out some of my favorite parts or like the progression of how this came about. I knew that I wanted the Christ figure representing the great high priest to be in Levitical garb. You know, it talks about the Day of Atonement in Leviticus 16 and other parts of Leviticus. When the Levitical priesthood is made, it talks about what clothes they wear and how important they are. And typically when we think about Jesus Christ, we don't think of him in like a high priest clothes because he never had that office on earth. As we know from Hebrews and other parts of the New Testament, he became the high priest. So I wanted to portray him as a priest, as he's the fulfillment of it. And so that's why I put him kind of in this robe that's attached to these traditional garments that you see here, the Levitical priesthood. Here I have all these, I took kind of like a mosaic, a bunch of little stones or fragments here and that are a part of their robe. And the only thing about them, they're not filled. And so on the Christ figure, I wanted to show all those little places filled with the yellow because he was the fulfillment of the scriptures. So, and that's why I have him in bold while I have the other Levitical priests that are looking toward the Christ figure. They're looking toward him as the fulfillment of that Levitical priesthood. So I like it because when I'm making it, those little symbols, they mean something to me as I'm creating it. So it's also nice to share kind of the meaning behind it. So yeah, like what they're wearing, their wardrobe, I put on the Christ figure and then I fulfilled it because he was the fulfillment of everything in Leviticus. But how do you show the modern listener or reader that you're pointing forward? So the way that I interpreted that or did that was I went into his face. I kept the crown of thorns under the priest's hat. So that was one symbol. The second symbol here was the crown of thorns, but I did it more like a halo. Typically you think about the symbol of a halo as thinking about holiness. But I was like, yo, his holiness was displayed through his sacrificial, unconditional love and his perfect character on the cross. And then lastly, you wouldn't know this unless you went really, really into the piece of artwork, but I put his eyes not looking down toward the Levitical priests and not looking straight out at the people seeing the artwork like we would see it on our phones or whatever, but I had him looking over and up because I started thinking about when he came as a sacrifice for us, a high priest for us that he is now. He was looking forward. He was looking forward to obeying the Father, interceding and being the high priest for us on our behalf. And so I had him looking forward, not only to the cross, but beyond that when he would become the resurrected Lord. So I personally just love his eyes because he wears the past of the Levitical priesthood and the Levitical laws and the Old Testament, the Old Covenant, and he fulfills that. And then you have the intersection of history when he is coming and sacrificing himself as the fulfillment of the Day of Atonement, right, on the cross. But then you have the eyes that are looking forward, and you have this kind of the rays, the glory rays coming out. And then I alluded to the tomb here, like him coming out of death on our behalf. So we have part of Leviticus 16 right here, actually. That's Hebrew for Leviticus 16. So anyways, that's kind of breaking down the cover. I hope you like it. I hope it speaks to you. I hope you even understand more through this video, kind of what it's saying. And, you know, even more so than you liking it, maybe you can break down some of those symbols and what they mean to somebody else. So maybe the art will not only be cool or, y'all, I appreciate that, but maybe it will speak the deeper message of the gospel and our great high priest, Jesus Christ, who came on our behalf. So yeah, that's the artwork.